Okay, so I haven't made a video in a while. Hopefully this will be, try to make this concise. I'm going to talk about salutes. This is an example of a salute. This is another example. So kind of like just different, same powder load in these same tube size, just different looks, you know. And then this is one that's sort of more, I don't know, you could say classic with the side fuse. And then this one is, I can't really say how good this would be because I've never tried it with the end plugs just like plugged in this way and then no hot glue. So it's just literally just the paper end plug held in place by hot glue around the rim and then pushed inside. Same with that. My guess is that this will be probably just as loud, maybe not, as the hot glued end plugs. I'm kind of guessing that it would be comparable. I don't know if it would make a difference whether because it's just paper, but the paper's stout and it's recessed. And what I want to get into is like, because what I see a lot of videos on YouTube, and before you turn this off, I want to say I think this video is going to have some information that you're not really going to find elsewhere. Because I have looked into this, I've known how to make these for a while. It's not hard. It's not hard, and some people will just like learn how to make it, and then that's it, and they kind of end it there. I kind of went a little deeper into like, what is it? Like, what is flash powder? Is it low explosive? Is it high explosive? Does it detonate, or does it deflagrate? Deflagration is like what black powder does. It burns in the open air. And I think that flash powder detonates. I think it actually does detonate. I'm not saying it's a high explosive, but it's fulminating explosive. It fulminates. And so I think there's a distinction there. And I kind of want to get into like what it is. How does it do what it does? How is it different than, like, say, black powder? Things like that. Like, what is it? And so I also wanted to mention this book is an older book printed in the wartime, during World War II, like 1940 to then so volumes 1 and 2 in one volume. 1940 was the first volume, and then 1943 the second volume was published, and this is like the 2 volumes in one. The Chemistry of Powder and Explosives by Tenny L. Davis. So, I wanted to just read a quick thing on what he says about flash powder, because what it is a lot of people will say, or what I've heard is it's a low explosive, but I mean, if you've heard like and seen how powerful the explosion is from these in paper tubes, it's hard to say like, oh yeah, that's like a low explosive, like, because they're pretty powerful. If you make them right, like if you make them really good, which I think I make really good ones, and so I'm going to explain how I make mine. I get really good results, like really, really good results. So anyway, let me just read quickly what this guy, he's got all kinds of, it's an older book. I mean, it's older, but I'm sure the information is still relevant. And it's there's stuff in here that you're not going to really find elsewhere, So let me read. Sorry, should have had this already posted up. Thought I did. Oh, here it is. Okay, so it says here, The compositions which contain barium nitrate produce a green flash, the others a white one. All of them burn with great rapidity in the open. Again, I think this is kind of important that like this little bit here is like a lot of people like you're not going to kind of find it. It's kind of like niche information that I think is important. So it says here, all of them burn with great rapidity in the open. It is debatable whether the phenomenon of the burning is not really an explosion or would be one if the material were not allowed to scatter while being burned. With the exception of the third and the last, they are all fulminating explosives when confined. So they're all fulminating explosives when confined, right? So it gives a chart. Let's see if I can... Where is it? Yeah, there it is. Try to let it focus. So in the chart there, it lists, it says here, with the exception of the third and the last, which is on this chart, the third and the last, so the third and the last, with the exception, all the other ones are fulminating, and included in the fulminating ones that were not the exceptions is the, basically the 70-30 potassium perchlorate and aluminum. So that would be a fulminating explosive. That's what always kind of threw me off, because it acts like, you know, I've had experience with, you know, making like black powder type explosives, like putting them in like PVC fittings with a fuse, and they would explode, but they weren't even close to how impressive the report is from a flash powder in a paper tube. It's a paper tube, and it doesn't even have to be fully packed. It could be like halfway with loose powder. It's not compact. So, and let me read this one other thing about this. This is not from this book. It's just a quote that I wrote in the inside cover of this book from an article in Scientific American, and it's from an old source. So it's but still, it says here, article Scientific American, fulminating substances, the sciences, June 11th, 1853. In a variety of chemical combinations, it happens that one or more of the principles assume the elastic state with such rapidity that the stroke against the displaced air produces a loud noise. This is called fulmination, or much more commonly, detonation. So I'll read that again. In a variety of chemical combinations, it happens that one or more of the principles assume the elastic state with such rapidity that the stroke against the displaced air produces a loud noise. So, to my mind, what happens is different than what happens in here in the paper tube with flash powder. Is a different kind of thing than what happens with black powder in the tube, in a paper tube, say, or whatever kind of tube. Now, I like losing my train of thought. So, black powder. Oh, here's one of the things. So, flash powder does not produce any gas. Most explosives produce heat and gas. This, I'm assuming, produces heat. The flash powder. I know it doesn't produce gas, or very little. I don't think any. Little to none. No gas produced in the explosion of flash powder. When it explodes, it does not produce gas. Black powder does produce gas. So when black powder burns inside the tube, it expands and produces enough pressure to blow it out. But it doesn't do it fast. It's like a fast burn. And then it'll blow. Usually it'll just blow the end plugs out. Or maybe it'll blow the paper too. But it's not very impressive. But what happens with flash powder in the paper tube, and that's why you can get such an impressive explosion from flash powder in a paper tube, because it's not really the paper tube that's the bursting of the paper tube that's causing the explosion. It's the actual liquefying of the aluminum by the oxidizer in the reaction. So it's like that article said. I think that's a good description where it says it transitions it into an elastic. It goes from metal, fine metal particles, right? And I'll get into like the best kind of aluminum and good perchlorate and the percentage of mixture, because I think there's better than 70-30, and I'll explain that in a minute. But so when the flame from the fuse goes into it, it hits that mixture, and the tube confines it enough to where that mixture, it has enough time, just enough time to like the whole thing to fully liquefy and enter into that elastic state. It like whips the air, so it's not producing a gas that is exploding the tube. It's turning into a liquid or elastic, if you will, and it's like going from a solid to an elastic, and it pulses the air. And so it's a different kind of thing than black powder. It's like, not, to my mind, it's not a low explosive. To my mind, it's like detonation. It's distinct. It has a sharp report. And that to me is and the fact that it fulminates. It reminds me of like certain chemicals like mercury fulminate and other fulminates that they're not, it's not the paper tube that, it's not, the reason it's so loud in a paper tube is because it's not the paper tube that's giving it the width of the thickness of the paper tube and the thickness of the end plugs, I think matters in that it allows that much more time for that whole mixture to be fully liquefied and change into that elastic state where it can like crack the air, like it whip the air. So that's the difference. Black powder, it's just expanding in there. The gases are expanding at a rapid rate, and it blows the tube, but that's about all it does, and it's not impressive. Not when you have seen what the flash powder will do in the paper tube. So anyway, so basically, I'll go into. So yeah, like does it detonate? Like the detonation's like, I know it's like the shock waves got to go through the material. First of all, like it's a binary explosive and not like a molecular explosive, like where like TNT, nitroglycerin, whatever. The molecules themselves have the oxidizer and the metallic fuel or the fuel in the molecule, whereas this is a binary. It's a combined explosive, like you're combining two powders, so it's not on the molecular level. So in that sense, it's lesser than those high explosives in its intensity, but it's still intense, especially for it's mixed. It's not like detonating on a molecular level. And the speed of the pulse going through the material is supposed to be faster than the speed of sound. Travel through the material faster than the speed of sound, and that's what constitutes detonation. So does the shock wave move through this faster than the speed of sound? Maybe not. I don't think it does. I've read some articles where it's slower, but it's not like it's a propellant. It's not slow. It's really fast, and it acts through, like I said, like liquefies that. It's not the paper tube that's holding it together and it's like ready to burst with the paper. No, it's the paper tube just allows it time to liquefy and crack out. And like I notice it. Like I can tell just by the sound of it. The sound of it is like incredible. Like it's incredible. Like the amount of power that comes from like a tube that size. It's just a paper tube. So it's the material in it. It's the material in it that's really distinct and kind of like special, really, I think. Anyway, so what I do, and so I take the paper end plugs, and they're actually reversed, so that like it's like a cup shape. So it's almost like I put the cup shape, although when I started the tube's empty, so I take the first plug, and I put it in the tube, bowl side down like this, down in there, and I push it all the way through to where it is the opposite way over here, because it's easier to do that, put it in beveled side in, than it is to do the ridge side in. So that's what's difficult. You do that one's easy, but then when you fill it, you put the end plug in, but you got to put the end plug. What I do is I put the end plug in upside down like this. I'm making a bigger thing. Like it's like a cup. It's like a cup shaped plug, you know. And so I put it like this, and I put it down in there. But you kind of got to get the edges just right to get it in there. It's not as easy to get it in as like if it was like the bowl side down. Anyway, yeah, I think you get what I'm saying. So you do that carefully. You put that in there, and you just hot glue. Just get like a hot glue gun that has like a long nozzle on it, and just put hot glue around in there. And then I take the nozzle and I kind of like go like that, and I kind of like get it over the edges so that the hot glue sort of like melts over the edges too, and it kind of gives it a nice look. I think it gives like a nice quality look. Again, like this one here, I just did this as like kind of a novelty, because like I see a lot of people that make them on YouTube that look like that, and maybe they have great success with them. I don't know. Maybe that. And it's better in a way, because I guess the hot glued end plugs can like go flying out and maybe be somewhat of a projectile, not as bad as like a rock or something, but I don't know how far it would travel at a high speed. I would think it would lose velocity kind of quick, but you never know. So maybe like have them like that toward, you know, when you let them off, as opposed to like that, so it shoots right at you. So maybe go like that perpendicular. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. This might be fine. They might get great results with that. They might get fantastic results. It might be just, I don't have, like I said, I have to find out, but this might be just as powerful as this. It's how you load it, and I'll get into that in a minute. So anyway, I don't know. But I know this is tried and true. I can tell you right now, these are very impressive. So this is 1.5 inches by 5/16 inside diameter by 1/16 inch wall. They make heavier wall stuff, which they're good too. That's all good. But it's, again, it's not the tube so much as the flash powder. So I'll get into the flash powder now. So the first thing you want to do is, like what I did when I first started making this stuff, because, you know, I knew it was powerful. I knew it was, you know, could be dangerous. So, and especially with the hot glue, I thought, well, let me see, so I when I first made flash powder many years ago, 2010, about 2012 maybe. It was about 2010. It doesn't matter. So, what I did was I'd mix. I'll tell you how to mix it in a minute. I took the flash powder, the finished flash, and I would take a small amount and I would like bake it in the oven for 400 degrees for a pretty long time. Make sure the oven was like preheated 400 degrees. Put it in there, because in other words, if it ignites it, it's not going to do anything. It's just a little amount in an oven, in a metal oven. So, what that does is, if you do that, you'll get sort of like some peace of mind, especially if you hot glue the ends. You know, so because that's why one of the main reasons why I did. First, I want to see it, like how reactive it was. Can you really heat this stuff up? Can this stuff take a lot of heat before it detonates, fulminates, whatever you want to say, deflagrates? You know, for something, it's not a high explosive. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty freaking awesome, really. It's pretty impressive. Okay, I think. So anyway, whether it's low or high, whatever. Yeah, bake it in the oven for like 400 degrees. Bake it for 500 degrees. Bake it for I don't know if it goes up to 600 degrees ovens, but bake it in the oven. Let it sit in there for a while. Again, if it's going to ignite, it's not going to do anything. It's a metal oven. It's a small amount, just a small amount, tiny amount. And then you bake it, take it out. I took it out, it looked just like it did when I put it in. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it was a long time ago. So I was like, cool, this stuff can take a lot of heat, right? I never did smack it with a hammer, though, to see if it a little amount, smack it with a hammer. You could try that. That would be a good idea to try that, too, to see how shock sensitive the mixture is. And I'm going to tell you about a mixture that's pretty much the industry standard, and I found to be totally acceptable. I've never felt the need to go any higher, any further. This stuff is hot. This stuff is like cracking good. So anyway, Yeah, do that. Bake it in the oven. See, okay, this stuff is not temperature sensitive, right? You can take the fuse, like whatever fuse you're using, take a little bit of the fuse and take the hot glue gun. Oh, and this is what I did too. So I took a little bit of like, this is when I was first learning. So I took a little tiny bit of the finished flash, and I drenched hot glue on it. No reaction. I was like, okay, cool. So it's not super reactive. I baked it in the oven. I put hot glue on it, on the flash, and then also on the fuse, the little piece of the fuse, just to see if the black powder in the fuse would react to the hot glue. No. Okay, so I'm good. So then I knew I was good. And so I've hot glued the ends, and I've had good success with it. No issues. I'm still got all my fingers, and praise the Lord. I try to be safe. Anyway, so once you've done that, and you kind of get an idea, like, okay, this stuff is not, it's it's dangerous, but it's pretty stable, and that's why I like this mixture that I'm going to talk about. And so I'll just get into it right now. So the mixture, what I use is I have another video on YouTube where it talks about, I was just burning Indian Blackhead, just the aluminum, in a video. I was kind of long-winded, kind of like maybe I'm doing this time, trying not to be long-winded, but trying to stick to the point. But I used, at that time, I was using like an Indian Blackhead that was like a 5 or 6 micron, which is fine. 5 or 6 microns pretty small, but you can find online, and what I like to use is a 2 micron. A 2 micron Indian Blackhead. Don't get the German. Don't get the Star Molecule, 1.5 Star Molecule Jagged Flake. It's okay. But that Indian Blackhead in my experience, is the best stuff. Forget the German. It says German. Oh, it must be the best. Nope. Indian Blackhead. Trust me. So, 2 micron Indian Blackhead and 325 mesh. Usually it's like marked, I don't know what it means. It's marked with a minus sign, minus 325 mesh. Potassium perchlorate. Potassium perchlorate. Potassium perchlorate is the oxidizer, and the aluminum, the Indian Blackhead aluminum dark flake, 2 micron, is the fuel. And those are the only 2 ingredients. So, the only thing about the perchlorate is that I would suggest is that buy a perchlorate. 325 mesh is fine. It's all I've ever used, and it works great. It makes for a super, super, super fine finished product. So the potassium perchlorate, 325 mesh, get it with some anti-cake agent. And you could also buy Cabasil, fumed silica, Cabasil brand name, in a jar, and you can add that Cabasil to the potassium perchlorate to keep it free flowing. It keeps it from caking up because it likes to get all chunky and blocky. And so, but what I do is, so even the anti-cake stuff, it will get chunky and blocky, but it'll break right up pretty easily. And I take a mortar and pestle and just and measure out. So what I do is, I don't do 70-30. I used to, but I think that that 67-33 is better, because chemically speaking, I'm not a chemist, and I don't claim to be. I just know enough to know that there's this thing called stoichiometry, which is a ratio of oxidizer to fuel that is optimal. And so the stoichiometry says that you do an exact 2-to-1 ratio. So, say you're making 100 milligrams, or 100 grams rather, of your flash, which I would recommend just doing like 100-gram batches, So that's what I've always done. I mean, that's enough to really mess you up if it ever exploded. But I'll talk about like how to be safe with it in a second. So the potassium perchlorate. So you put it in a mortar and pestle, and you grind it up real good, and then get a small like little sieve, and then sift it till just the little chunks are left, and then you take the chunks, put them back in the mortar and pestle, grind it up, put it through the sifter. And with the mortar and pestle and the sifter, a fine sifter, like a really tight, crosshatch tight sifter is good. Like a little kitchen sifter, like tiny one. You know, you don't need a lot. If you're making 100 grams, you don't need a lot of. Like, you don't need a lot of space. It's kind of a small amount. So, little sifter with tight mesh, and grind it, pulverize it real good. Get it all free flowing. Put a little Cabicil in there if you want, unless it already has stuff in there, or you want to add more, whatever. Grind it up, put it through the sieve again, right, until the little powder pellets, and then you put that back in the mortar pestle and grind it up. Put it through the sieve until it all goes through the sieve on a sheet of paper. Now there's other ways to do this, and I've mixed it like in mason jars. I've mixed it in like Chinese wonton soup containers, and I'll spray it with Static Guard and stuff just to be on the safe side. Anyway. So put it on a piece of paper. I think this is the best method, the safest method, and it works really good too because you can see how it's mixing. You gotta thoroughly mix it till it's completely intimately involved with one another, and you just take it on a paper, put it on the center of like a large sheet of paper, and just drag the paper back this way and this way, and it's called the diaper method. I don't really like that name, but that's what they call it. You can do it like this way and this way, and so that the stuff just folds over on itself, go this way and that way and the other way, and the corners and all that, and then you roll it onto itself till it's a fine mixture. And the 2-micron dark flake aluminum Indian Black had 2-micron, good stuff. I'm pretty sure you could get it online, and some good potassium perchlorate, 325 mesh. Don't have to do anything with the aluminum. The perchlorate you have to like pulverize, make sure it's all busted up real good and free flowing. The aluminum, I don't know if some people sift it, but I've never found it necessary. It stays free flowing. It stays in a particular. It doesn't clump up. In my experience, it never has. I put the aluminum, boom, right on the thing, but I prepare the potassium perchlorate. So 67-33. Normally, like the for some reason, I don't know why, a lot of people will do a 70-30 in the industry standard. I think most like pyrotechnic companies and whatever people that make fireworks professionally, they use, I believe, a 70-30 mixture, which is not quite that stoichiometric ratio perfection. It's a little more oxidizer and a little less aluminum. But I think when you get that little more oxidizer and you get that less aluminum, the less aluminum you have, the aluminum is the fuel. The aluminum is the stuff that liquefies and snaps, right? So I like to put a little less oxidizer and a little more aluminum into it. So it's a true 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts oxidizer to 1 part aluminum, right? So basically 67-33 is about that perfect ratio, 2-to-1. Okay, so and I found that it works really good. Another thing I found that works really good is I know with the traditional military M80s, like when they were making them, when the military was making them to simulate like howitzers and large artillery guns. That's how loud these are. Like they're meant to simulate that. And with the military ones, the original ones were made. They were the same size tube, 1.5 inches long, 5/16 inside diameter. 9/16. Did I say 5/16 or 15? It's 9/16 inside diameter. So just over 1/2 inch inside diameter, right? By 1.5 inches long. And the original ones had a dark flash powder, and they were completely filled. No space, no airspace. They were completely filled. I've heard people say like, "Oh, it'll blow up. Fill it 3/4 and it'll still explode." Yeah, well, you could probably fill it 1/4 of the way, and it probably would explode. I never tried it, but I know it'll explode because I tried that. I know it'll explode if you fill it 3/4 of the way and leave a good gap. It'll explode pretty good. But I think filling it all the way. And you don't have to you don't have to like push it in there and pack it in there. What I do is I just tap like little paper folded like that, like a V-shaped piece of paper, and I load that up with a little bit, and then I take it and I funnel it in there, And then what I'll do is I'll tap it like, and let it settle itself. And in these tubes, you should get about 5.5 grams worth in the tube without packing it, but you're tamping it, you know, down, tamping it down until it settles and settles and settles and settles. And then and then so you should get about like 5.5 grams. And if you do that, you're going to have a very impressive M80. And of course, M80, you can make bigger stuff too. But you know, the thing is, it's like, I don't know, like the legality of it. Like I think like you know, oh, I'm breaking the law, but I live in a country where it's legal to murder children, unborn children in the womb. So that's legal to do that, but this isn't. So I don't really feel guilty at all. I don't feel like, you know what I mean. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna end this. Hopefully that was somewhat interesting. It's already half an hour. I try to keep it under that, but all right. Any questions, comments, leave them below. I may or may not check them. I haven't done YouTube thing in a while, but figured I'd try to upload this. And so, all right.